Hello everyone, I'm Lee. In this video, I'm going to show you a much bigger program, much bigger than the ones we had in the first 2 weeks. We are going to talk about top-down design, which is how to break a big task down into smaller ones. Then we keep on breaking until we got a trivial task. First, let's go ahead and run this program first. So it's an easy address book. It gave us a menu. So this is a menu-based user interface. I'm going to choose A for add, and say name and my email address. I'm going to add again and say Sandy. Now I'm going to choose the listing, then choose a search myself. Alright, so you get the idea how this address book works. Now let's talk about the design. For this address book program, I made it two big modules. One is a user interface, that's the front end. So these are the user interface related functions that works with user. And another module is the database related functions, and that works on the back end data. So this one is going to do the presentation, and this one is going to manage the underlying database. So now let's talk about top-down design. The top level function is the main function. In this main function, we put together a menu-based user interface. We first display menu, we read in a command. Then we say, hey, if you don't want to quit, we're going to process the command. Then we display the menu again, read in command. So this is a very typical menu-based user interface. And we break main down into display menu, read in command, process command. So among those three tasks, process command is a bigger one because we can just go ahead and implement those two easily. So how about process command? So we keep on breaking task down. So let's take a look at process command. So another easy way, you can just say drop down menu, let's say where is process command. So about this process command, we say if the command is A, we first read in entry, then add entry. We break it down in two tasks. If it's list, we do display all. If it's search, we break it down first, read in name, then we invoke the search entry. So we break process command down into add entry, display all, and search entry. So that should give you an idea about breaking task down into trivial functions. Now let's take a look at data involved. We're going to manage a collection of record here, and I'm going to call it address entry. So this is how you create a new data type using struct. And this is a composite data type. It has two fields. And here is a semicolon. So by doing this, you didn't allocate any memory. You just create a brand new data type called address entry so that you can use it. Okay. And another major data, how do we model our database? We use array of address entry because in CS162, you're not allowed to use global data. You're not allowed to use global variable. You can use global constant. Like for example, here's global constant. We have a bunch of global constant because they're read only, so there's no side effect for global constant, but you cannot use global variable. Because of that, we have to pass these two pieces of essential data around. One is the array, another one is the number of elements in the array. It's not the capacity. This is a capacity. This is the actual number of elements in the array. So we have to pass those two pieces of data around. So take a look. So when we pass them in process command, so let's pick this one. For process command, we need to know the command to process it. So that's a typical int value. And we need to know the database. The database consists of the array and the size of the list, the actual number of elements in that list. And take a look at this one. We're going to modify both. So that's why we are passing by reference for the size. And for array, if you don't say anything, it looks like passing by reference. We will talk this more when we talk about pointers, but at this point, just remember, if you don't say anything, it's kind of like passing by reference because you can modify the content of this list. Okay, now let's pick on another method. So how about display all? So in order to display all the entries in the database, you need to give me the database. Here, I put a constant before this array because we don't want to modify the list. And also this one is passed by value because we don't want to modify the size either. So that should give you some idea about how to pass by reference. When to pass by value, when to pass by reference. Here's another example, add entry. To add entry, you have to give me the entry to be added, but you don't want to modify this entry. We always pass object. Object means a variable of a composite data type, such as address entry. We always pass object by reference. We always do that because of efficiency reason. When you pass by value, you're going to make a copy of this object that's going to occupy more memory and use much CPU cycles. So what we do is we always pass by reference. We always pass the address. But what if we don't want this add entry to modify this entry? You do a const there. You pass by reference, you do a const. Then even I give you my address, still you cannot modify me because I specify this is constant. And now let's take a look at this one. Add entry is going to modify the database, so we cannot make this one constant, and we have to pass by reference because we want to modify the list size after we add the entry. So, and now let's take a look at how to pass the array around. Let's take a look. When we pass this array, we only specify the name of the array. We don't put bracket there. And about struct, when you define struct, individual field could be any legal data type. That means it could be primitive data type. It could also be another struct. Okay, I hope that helps. I'm not going to explain the details for individual functions in this video, but if you have questions, please feel free to post it on the discussion board. Thank you.